300,000 American military and government networks had computers that had been compromised by this, and immediately virus writers started writing viruses that were prepended with $SYS, because of course you would, right? They've just opened a giant $SYS shaped hole in the immune system of 6 million computers. If you're writing viruses, you'd be a fool not to take advantage of it. And it's our policy now that when people write that virus into the operating system of our devices, that it's illegal to remove it. It's also illegal to tell anyone about it. It's illegal to speculate about it. It's illegal to tell people how to remove it. We have created policy that makes it illegal to fortify our devices. And everything we do today is built around computers. Computers aren't just the devices on our desktops. They're not just the devices in our backpacks. They're not merely the devices in our laptops. The whole world today is made out of computers. To give you an example of how much this stuff matters. Last November, a researcher named Barnaby Jack gave a presentation in Australia about the work that he'd been doing on implanted defibrillators. Now, implanted defibrillators are marvelous technology. If you have a structural problem with your heart that causes it to sometimes lose the rhythm and will someday kill you, your doctor, she can put you under, cut you open, spread your ribs, reach into your chest cavity, and affix a computer with a powerful battery directly to your heart that listens to your heartbeat, and when your heart loses the rhythm, gives you a tiny shock, and puts your heart back in running order, and keeps you alive. Amazing stuff. Now, these devices, doctors want to be able to reprogram them with new versions of the firmware. They want to get diagnostics and telemetry off of them, and it's a bit messy reprogramming a device that is in your chest cavity if you have to attach a cable to it. So these things have wireless interfaces. Everything's got a wireless interface. Go around, walk around out there. It's like being in a microwave oven. Everything's got a wireless interface. So that's where Barnaby Jack comes in. From 30 feet away, he can detect your implanted defibrillator. He can compromise its firmware. He can cause it to seek out other defibrillators and compromise their firmware. And what does the compromised firmware do? Well, it delivers lethal shocks. Making it illegal to tell people how computers work, making it legal to design computers that hide secrets from their owners. This is life or death already, because we don't have devices anymore. We have computers. Your car is a computer that hurdles you down the road at 50 miles an hour, surrounded by other people, likewise trapped in computers, hurtling down the road at 50 miles an hour. When you fly overseas in a 747 to New York or Los Angeles on a nice holiday, you are flying in a flying Solaris box connected to a bunch of badly secured SCADA controllers in a very fancy aluminum case, right? Making it illegal to tell people how their computers work, making it illegal to have an ecosystem where security researchers know that they can and should report the vulnerabilities in our devices, that makes things much more dangerous for all of us. And in case it's not immediately apparent how and why, I just came off a tour with a book called Homeland, where I went all the way around America. It's coming out here in the autumn. It's the sequel to my novel, Little Brother. And the first night of the tour, I gave a talk much like this in Seattle, and a woman in the library put her hand up and she said, "You've scared me witless. What do I do about this? I can't secure my phones, my laptops, and so on." I told them about kids in schools who've been issued school laptops that can spy on you, and you discovered later that the school administration had been photographing them in their sleep and in the nude and around their family and in lots of other contexts. I told them about rent-to-own companies, hire-purchase companies that had low-jacked the laptops that they let out to people who couldn't afford to buy them outright, who'd admitted that they'd used them to record the owners of these laptops having sex, to record their children in the nude, to intercept their bank details, their medical records, and so on. She said, "I can't keep all these devices secure. What do I do?" And I said, "Well, you're right. I can't keep all of my devices secure. I mean, I was a systems administrator 15 years ago, which means that I'm barely qualified to work in a microwave oven today. So how do we keep it secure?" Well, if I just given you a talk about water safety and told you about all the horrific things that live in our water, and they are horrific things that can live in your water, and all the terrible things that can happen to you if you ingest them. There are some terrible things that can happen to you if you ingest that water. You would not be putting your hand up and saying, "How do I run my own water filtration plant?" You would be saying, "How do I make sure that we regulate things like water with the gravitas, with the seriousness that they deserve, such that people who discover bad things in water know that they can talk about it, such that no one is incentivized in our market to poison the water in order to maximize their profit." That's why this stuff matters, not because of me, because ultimately a competitive society rests on the right to interoperate, to open, to understand, and to improve. And a free and secure society cannot peacefully coexist with one where rules that enforce secrecy about our devices are on our law books. So here we are, we're makers, that's why we're here at the fair, with a vanguard, and we must not allow ourselves to yield on this point, because everything we do today involves the internet and the general purpose computer connected to it, and everything we do tomorrow will require it. The internet and the devices we connect to it are not fax machines attached to waffle irons, they are the nervous system of the 21st century. So we need to make sure that whenever new problems crop up, whether that's things that seem very obvious right now and therefore probably won't come to pass because they're not weird enough, like 3D printed guns, or things that are kind of lurking out there being way weirder than that, like say 3D printed meth labs, or people being able to home synthesize their own antibiotics and thus driving out of usability the last antibiotics we have and triggering TB plagues across the land. Every one of these problems that results from a general purpose computer will prompt someone out there to say, can't we just solve this by designing a computer that can run every program except for the one that upsets me, or is harming society, or is doing something bad. And these may be legitimately bad things that they're doing, and our answer has to be always and forever no, because this will not effectively stop the computers from doing the bad thing, right? People still pirate iPad software, people still download things off the internet that they're not supposed to, despite all of these measures that we've done that weaken the overall integrity of our computers and the networks we connect them to. And because in doing this, we will make it harder, we will set the stage for a world in which security researchers can't tell you when the computers in your body, the computers you put your bodies into, are putting you at risk, are not as secure as they say they are. So it's our duty to tell this to our friends, to our kids, to our families, to the people who aren't as switched on about technology as we are, but most of all, especially to lobby our politicians on this. We can make a huge difference in this. It seems like we can. It seems like this stuff is almost impossible to make sense of. But this week, in fact, in the last 72 hours, the governments of the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States all dropped their do or die, we must pass this universal internet surveillance bill, because people rose up in all three of those countries and said you mustn't let these come to pass. So in fact, politicians do sometimes listen to the internet when the internet rises up to defend itself. And in this country, there's a group called the Open Rights Group. The Open Rights Group is a group I helped found, but I'm only an advisor to it. I'm not on its board, and I don't benefit in any way from me telling you about them. The Open Rights Group directly lobbies on these issues at Parliament. They talk to various groups around the country. They just had their first ever Org Fest in the North in Manchester a couple of weeks ago, and they're getting more involved in politics in the North and in Scotland as well. And they are entirely paid up and run by voluntary donations. Volunteers help make all of their programs work, and they can use both your expertise, your money, and your time. So I hope you'll get involved with them. The Electronic Frontier Foundation is a kind of international body that works on this, sort of like Liberty for the internet. The Free Software Foundation works on this at the technical level, as do groups like the Software Freedom Law Center, and they have European affiliates. All of these groups need your help. But most of all, I want you to start thinking now about the fact that in the future, over and over again, you are going to be confronting various iterations of the copyright war in which people are going to say to you, break your computer, accept the breaking of your computer in some selective way for a better future, and how all of us who understand that that's not a practical solution and that it has enormous grave risks to all of us, that we have a duty to help people understand this complex, nuanced point of theory in computer science and network theory, because it's the thing that all of our lives are going to depend on when the day comes. So thank you very much, and I think we have time maybe for a question or two. Thank you.